Yes, yes. Hello there, my loves. It's me, it's Jimmy. It's Monday, and as the new tradition dictates, I'm going to give you a little rundown of what's coming this week. I'm a little bit tired today, and no, it's not because I've been playing with my wand all night. Not this time. No, it's because I was woken at 4 o'clock in the morning by some drunk bastards outside our fucking window. Unfortunately, yes, we live right in the middle of the city, so the degenerates that eventually weave their way out of said city completely off their tits tend to pass by our residents, and sometimes, for whatever reason, perhaps they can feel the palpable aura that surrounds the area because, of course, I'm a wizard. They dally outside and make mischief and sing and potentially dance. I never actually watched them, but I think there's about 3 of them. They weren't students, they weren't younglings, these were older gentlemen, and they were doing my fucking head in. I was very close to going out and slinging a few spells at their head with a golf club, but I heard this woman in the distance shouting at them, potentially a witch, but yeah, she did the trick. It did the trick, and they scarpered then. But my God, it's so annoying. And I got up at 6:30. I couldn't get back to sleep again. Eventually, I did. And when I did, I just felt terrible. But there we are. Only fell asleep a few times on the way to the school. Joking, of course. But there we are. That's the beginning of today's ramble. Right, what's coming this week, my labs? Well, not too much. So there's nothing on Wednesday, no Wonky Wednesday this week. But on Thursday, I'm still thinking of doing a live stream. I probably will, at the musical pop-up Jimmy ways. However, the way I'm feeling at the moment, I'm not really feeling it, but I'm sure it'll all be fine by then. So the theme, I'm thinking it's going to be a wizard battle, my love. So what we're going to do, I don't want to cause a war here, but I'm thinking of splitting the globe in half, so to speak. And we have those wizards, those fine wizards over in the Americas and Canada, down in Argentina. Sometimes we have Christian popping in. So those wizards pitted against those of Britain, primarily Britain, but, you know, anywhere in Europe, basically. If there's an Australian, they can choose where they go. So anyway, we're splitting the world in half, and we are going to be slinging spells at one another in a contest of sorts, my loves. So ideally, we're choosing music from our own neck of the woods, really. So, you know, the Britons can choose British music, but for extra potency, bands that are perhaps closer to home, so closer to where we each live, that will give it some potency. And of course, we cannot use world-ending spells like AC/DC's Highway to Hell, because that, of course, will shut the whole thing down. Perhaps we can end it with some of that. But anyway, if you're interested in that battle, do join us on Thursday. I probably will have bucked myself up by then, and we can have a battle, you and I. I'm not sure how it's going to work. I was coming up with a point system, and my wife prepared a spreadsheet for this. I don't know if we're going to go into it with that much detail, but anyway, this is just a trial run, just to see if a wizard battle scenario would be a fun thing to do. But yeah, I think it could be quite cracking, my loves. But anyway, there we are. That's Thursday. Friday, there will be a book review as usual. This time I'm going to be reviewing Dark Moon by David Gemmell. I read it maybe 2 months ago now, so it's going to be slightly more shambolic than usual, but I think I can remember enough to do something with it, shall we say. So there we are. That's Friday. That's the week ahead. What else is there to talk of? Oh yes, right. Yes, this is a plug here for a book. A book that my brother, Mark, has, Mark the Blade, I call him, The Stormweaver. It's a children's story. So, I mean, this doesn't really pertain to the kind of stuff I normally talk about on here, obviously. He will be coming out with a Choose Your Own Adventure book, which I will talk about more, and I've illustrated for it. I didn't really do much for it. I helped him format it and help proofread it, but that's about it. The artwork is all done by someone else, my labs. Yes, by Ira Bajkowska. Yes. So, and it's illustrated throughout. Really nice illustrations. Let's see if I can get one. Look at that. Fucking typical, isn't it? Can't find them now. Oh, there's one. That's nice. But yes, it is a fantasy adventure about a young girl who goes looking for her brother, lost brother, and ends up in another world entirely. So yes, I mean it's a children's book. So for most of you, well, all of you really, it's not going to be your kind of thing. But if you've got children, perhaps sling this their way. Who knows? But anyway, there we are. That's my brother's book, Mark the Blade. I'll be doing another video in towards the end of summer, perhaps, when my brother releases his other book, and we can have a jolly good time talking about quests and whatnot. But until then, what else am I talking about? Yes. So, yes, this weekend just passed, me and my wife, we went swimming in the sea off the coast of Devon, a place called Dawlish Warren. It was heaving. Lots of people there. I don't really like people, as you all know, not next to me and barely wearing any clothing. I'm not keen on that. But anyway, we walked as far down the beach as we could. It's a very long beach, and found a nice spot to set up camp. The water apparently has an excellent rating for cleanliness. There's a big problem in the UK with water companies occasionally pumping raw sewage into the water, but this one has an excellent rating. Even so, there was a surface layer of scum. But yeah, it's a couple of days later and we haven't succumbed to any bouts of diarrhea or vomiting, so I think we're going to be quite all right. But it was a very pleasant day, and for once, I mean, normally getting into the sea of any part of the coast in the British Isles, you're taking your life in your own hands. I mean, it's very cold normally, even in the middle of summer. It takes you about 15 minutes to work up to getting in, so you've got to very slowly build up, and past the Nether Regions area, that's the dodgy bit. After then, if you haven't already succumbed to a heart attack, you're good to go, and you can swim around for about 5 minutes before you're pretty much on the border of suffering hypothermia. But on the Saturday, the waters were tropical, my labs. So this is the climate collapse in action, one would think. But the water, as we're going in, it was like bath water. It was really warm, and yes, very pleasant. So there we are. We can all go to our dooms, but at least we can have a pleasant swim at the end of the day, my loves. But yes, the other thing we did, of course, was we had a meal, pub lunch, and sunk a few pints. Only 4. I thought it was time the liver woke up a little bit. But when the hell did the price of a pint go up to £6? I was bleeding blood out of my eyeballs. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. But there we are. It's a special occasion. We have to dip our hands into our pockets occasionally. But of course, you can go to a supermarket, spend a tenner and get like 10 cans of beer for the same price. No wonder that every single day there's a pub closing across the British Isles. Every single day. That's the most depressing thing you could ever think of. I read that earlier. I thought, yeah, the pubs are struggling. They've got to be struggling. If they're putting the price of a pint up to that, you know that there's problems. And one closing per day, it doesn't bear thinking about. But anyway, there we are. That's the sorry state of affairs we have over here. The death of our beloved pubs. Right, the last thing I was going to talk about was, I suppose, it was off the bat of my experience of going into a pub after a long time being away from it and experiencing a different flavour, shall we say, of banter. Now, banter over in the UK, I mean, banter is worldwide, I'm sure, but in the UK, I think it's typically known as working class wit. So it's a kind of it's considered a low form of wit, I suppose, but it's a very enjoyable pastime. I quite enjoy it. But there's lots of different flavors of it, and if you encounter a flavor of it that you don't have much experience of, you can feel quite out of place. And I didn't get involved in any banter at the bar, but I was listening to, older gentlemen, shall we say, engaging in banter with the waitresses and whatnot. And I thought, my God, I wouldn't be able to converse with these fellows in their form of banter, because it's like another language to me. Now, I've encountered this in the past, and if you can't engage on the same level as a particular group of people that are engaging in banter, you are considered to be scum, my lads. But eyebrows are raised and people think, you're not one of us, you bastard, get the fuck out of here. But it's because there's lots of different versions of it. The problem is some forms of banter are just an excuse for being racist or derogatory to women or minorities, or, you name it. Banter seems to, it can very easily tiptoe into that territory. We don't do that, my lads. You don't need to lower yourself to that area of filth. Banter is about taking the piss out of other people in a merry way, and occasionally jokes that are probably a bit beyond the pale, but hopefully not, being horrible to anyone that's in earshot of it. That's the problem with banter. It's something, I suppose, that it's more of a personal thing. You have a very select number of people, what they can tolerate. You wouldn't be talking about penises, for example, with some ladies around. But the problem is some men, I'm talking about men, this is primarily men, they go down the sexual route. I do not like that. I don't entertain that around people that aren't ready for it. Let's put it that way. But it's fair game if they are ready for it, or if you think they can handle it. But there's no point just thinking about it. You need to know. So anyway, so I encountered some of that kind of banter. I had to sling a few spittles around me, my gloves. But anyway, there we are. That's the end of today's episode. Thank you, my lads, for listening. If you have, join me on Thursday for a wizarding battle. Hopefully we don't set off a war between two sides of the globe. It's possible when you've got wizards in the mix. And yes, there'll be a book review on Friday if I can get my shit together, my lads. But anyway, until then, cheerio and take care of yourselves. Boy.